Ladies and gentlemen, respected participants, a very good morning to all of you in Poland and good afternoon in Dubai in Abu Dhabi. And warm welcome to the second day of the webinar of Polish food export to the UAE market. Dzień dobry, assalamu alaikum, marhaba. I hope everyone is well and safe, and I hope we all get through this unprecedented time healthier and stronger. Ladies and gentlemen, the food security is a top priority in the UAE and similarly important for us in Poland. Yesterday, we had an interesting and insightful webinar while Polish experts and speakers shared with our audience, mostly Polish producers of food and beverages, but also representatives of industries, associations and chambers, information how to enter the UAE market and how to be effective. Today, however, we are going to discuss with our distinguished guests from Dubai and Warsaw how to work on a successful cooperation in terms of food safety requirements. Moreover, we will talk about the UAE norm and standards. Finally, we will talk about an offer for the international agri-sector presented by Special Economic Zone in Dubai. Let me introduce our speakers. The first greeting will be given to us by Ms. Magdalena Rowińska, who is an acting director of the Export Support Department at the National Support Center of Agriculture, KOWR, our host today. We are very honored to have as a key speaker His Excellency Ahmed Al Mansoori, who is Chargé d'Affaires and Head of Economic, Political and Media Affairs section in the UAE Embassy in Warsaw. Ahmed has been living in Poland more than 3 years. I think he fell in love with Polish cuisine and speaks Polish. Excellency, thank you very much for being with us today. We are also joined by His Excellency Essam Al-Hassimi, who is a head of Food Trade Control section at Food Safety Department in Dubai Municipality. Dr. Essam is responsible for the safety of food imported into Dubai. He is a member of the Food Security Committee in Dubai government and works at the UAE Food Bank. Moreover, Essam was on the study tour in Poland, and 2 experts from his department visited Poland as well as a part of food control of source projects. Thank you very much, Essam, for having time today for us. Our next speaker, Dr. Hassan Bayrakdar, is a founder and managing director of Raqam Consultancy in Dubai. Dr. Hassan is a well-known and respected food regulatory professional in the Middle East. He has strong working relationships with the authorities in the region, built over the last 2 decades of his dedication and passion to help companies overcome trade obstacles in the region. Raqam helped over 40,000 registrations covering all F&B categories, accumulated over 50 years of regulatory knowledge, and supported more than 100 companies, all sizes and from all over the world. Dr. Hassan will present us with the update standardization of F&B products in the UAE. Dr. Hassan visited Poland and KOWR as well, and is always our valuable guest at our pavilion during Gulf Food fairs. Dr. Hassan, thank you very much for being with us. And last but for sure not least, Her Excellency Ibtasim Al-Kabi, who is a head of sales by Jabal Ali Free Zone, JAFSA, which is a free economic zone located in Dubai. And for those who don't know me, my name is Katarzyna Rzeźniczek, And I am a diplomat and former entrepreneur, working always internationally. And now I am proud and feel very honored to be a representative of Polish Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development at Polish Embassy in Dubai, and very proud to moderate this day conference. Now I will hand over the virtual microphone to Ms. Magdalena Rowińska.
Thank you very much, Katarzyna. Good morning and good afternoon, everyone. It is a great pleasure to have you all here today. I would especially like to thank His Excellency Mr. Ahmed Al Mansoori for accepting the invitation to today's webinar. I think I will start with a short presentation of the National Support Center for Agriculture, which is a state institution supervised by the Polish Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development. One of our main activities is to support Polish entrepreneurs to enter foreign markets and to increase the competitiveness of Polish food abroad. We achieve this goal through many promotional and information activities, such as participation at international food fairs, organization the incoming and outgoing trade missions, or market seminars. The situation related to the coronavirus pandemic does not help us. It forces us to adapt our pro-export activities to new reality, because although there are many restrictions related to travels and transport, we do not want to reduce our presence at foreign markets. Instead, we would like to use this opportunity to develop new skills, new promotional activities. And this is why, for example, we participate at international food fairs in new forms, either hybrid or online. We also create virtual business platforms for B2B talks to facilitate the communication between interested parties, between Polish exporters and foreign food importers and distributors, if they do not have the possibility to meet each other live. And now I would like to briefly present you the Polish agri-food sector, which is a key and dynamically developing branch of Polish economy, generating significant export revenues each year. We apply the highest national and European standards in food production and processing. We may be proud of the most modern machinery park in Europe and of the one of the most modern in the world. However, apart from investing in new technologies, we care about culinary traditions for which our cuisine is famous and the unique tastes of our products. We are also aware of and we follow the global food trends. We observe nowadays that consumers are increasingly looking for high quality, nutrition-rich, low-processed, safe and healthy food. And Polish offer answers this demand because Polish products have all these properties. Since Poland's accession to the European Union since 2004, the Polish agri-food export have been reaching new record value every year. In 2019, we have exported products for almost 32 billion euros. Our main trading partners are the European Union countries. However, we increase our presence every year at third countries' markets, especially today, since many of third countries are dependent on food imports. When it comes to the agri-food trade relations between our countries, last year, in the first 11 months of 2020, we have exported products for almost 66 million euros. The United Arab Emirates are the second largest importer of Polish agri-food products among Arabic countries. confectionery, milk products, cereal and flour preparations are the main products demanded by our Emirati partners. I think that I will stop here, not to take time away from the crucial part of today's meeting, from the presentations of our experts. Once again, thank you very much for being with us. Thank you in advance for sharing your knowledge, your experience with us. I honestly believe that this meeting will contribute to increase the export of Polish agri-food products to the Emirati market. Thank you one more time and all the best.
Thank you very much, Magda. It was interesting. I think it is interesting to say our guests how Polish export of F&B products to the UAE has been developing. I'm just going to add some information. Can you see me? Share screen? No. Yeah, can you see my my slide?
Yeah.
Okay, I just want to add that as you see, wait, it is the second. I have to. The second one. Okay, just sorry, I'm not good at the technical issues, but what I want to say, just to sum up what Magda said and what you see from this slide, I can only say that agriculture and food and beverage sector mean in my country, in our country, as Magda said, nature, flavors, often multi-generational family farming, well-equipped manufacturing, responsibility for food safety and environment, and also significant contribution to the GDP. Thus, as you can see, every year agriculture, food and related industries contributed about 250 billion dirhams to the Polish GDP, which states for about 9% share. Okay, before I give the floor to our key speaker, His Excellency Ahmed, one technical information. As you know from the agenda, we are planning the 4 A&Q sessions, and because His Excellency Ahmed and also Dr. Essam can't stay with us till the end of the conference, we will talk to them after their speeches. Please share with us the question on the chat if you want me to ask them. I believe we will get a lot of interesting questions, but I think due to the full agenda of the conference, I guess we will be able to address only a couple of them. However, I promise that the organizer will hand over all your questions to our speakers and they will be happy to reply to you directly. Now, let's move on to our speakers. Excellency Ahmed, the floor is yours.
Bardzo dziękuję pani. Assalamu alaikum jami'an. Dzień dobry, excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, pani, panowie. Witam. I would like to start by thanking each and every one of you for joining us today in this important webinar, Polish food on the UAE markets. What an important subject that is. I would like to express my sincere appreciation to the National Support Center for Agriculture for organizing this important and vital event, which opens up new horizons of strengthening the already existing cordial and friendly relations between the United Arab Emirates and the Republic of Poland. I would also like to thank the Polish Ministry of Agriculture and the Embassy of the Republic of Poland in Abu Dhabi for their invaluable cooperation, and all the speakers from both the UAE and Polish entities for their participation. As a strategic hub, the UAE is one of the most important economic, trade, and touristic partners to the Republic of Poland in the Gulf and the Middle East region. This partnership could be seen in more than 20 agreements signed between our two countries in various fields, which are very crucial for developing and facilitating business, culture, tourism relations. One of those agreements is the Memorandum of Understanding between the Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development of the Republic of Poland and the Ministry of Environment and Water of the United Arab Emirates in the area of agriculture, food safety, scientific and research cooperation, and agriculture and food marketing. This was signed in 2015 during the official visit of His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum, Vice President and Prime Minister of the UAE, ruler of Dubai, to Poland. The embassy likes to confirm its support for any activity aimed to strengthen cooperation between our two friendly countries. We hope that the Polish participation in Expo Dubai will positively reflect on our mutual cooperation and introducing more Polish products to the region, which I am very fond of, by the way. The UAE is a very attractive market for the expansion of both big and small international players from all around the world. We always encourage Emirati investors to invest in Poland and for the Polish investors to do the same in the UAE in all fields, including, but not especially, to food security. That has always been a key focus of the UAE. In November 2018, during the UAE government's second annual meetings, Her Excellency Maryam Al-Mehri, Minister of State for Food Security, presented the National Strategy for Food Security. It is geared by 5 strategic goals focusing on facilitating global food trade, diversifying food import sources, and identifying alternative supply schemes covering 3 to 5 sources for each major food category. This strategy aims to make the UAE the world's best in the Global Food Security Index by 2051 and among the top 10 by 2021. Develop a comprehensive national system based on enabling sustainable food production through the use of modern technology. Enhance local production. Develop international partnerships to diversify food sources. And activate legislation and policies that contribute to improving nutrition. It is also worth noting that Her Excellency Maryam Al-Mehri visited Poland in November 2018 for the participation in the Polish Emirati Business Forum and held a very fruitful talks with the Polish Agriculture Minister. She stressed during the talks that there are great possibilities for cooperation between the UAE and Poland in the field of food security and research and development. The agri-food exports from Poland to the United Arab Emirates are growing. In 2019, the total value of Polish agri-food exports to the UAE amounted to nearly 72 million euros, an increase by approximately 24% to the prior year of 2018. However, the potential is much higher, ladies and gentlemen. I truly believe that. The UAE is especially interested in high-quality halal meat, dairy products, confectionery, or fruit preparations. The potential investment opportunities can be found in 3 priority research areas. 1, algae-based biofuels. 2, indoor farming technologies. 3, precision agriculture and agriculture robotics. From the onset of the global COVID-19 pandemic, the UAE has introduced smart initiatives and policies to strengthen and further develop a sustainable and safe food supply. On June 28, 2020, the UAE Cabinet approved the National System for Sustainable Agriculture to improve the efficiency of farms, enhance self-sufficiency in food, and create new opportunities to ensure that the agriculture sector is always ranked among the best. I would like to close by thanking you all one more time, and all those who contributed to preparing and organizing this event, and expressing my gratitude and appreciation to the Polish government for its unceasing cooperation and assistance to us, which in turn is reflected positively in facilitating the work of the embassy to further develop bilateral relations between our two countries. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you very much, Excellency, for giving the information and very stimulating words. I think we could see that you are really like Poland, and I have a feeling that you understand understand our country. Glad you notice what is the value of the Polish agri-food industry.
Absolutely.
I know you will leave us after your speech, but let me ask you about something. I have already got an interesting questions And it is connected what you say about the national food strategy. And just for you, let to know, I just mentioned the strategy yesterday in the Polish side and tried to encourage Polish people to be also a part of the strategy with the innovation ideas and technologies with startups in agriculture. I think we have a lot to do on that matter. Okay, let's come to the question, and it is about your experiences and connected with the future of the export of Polish product. Please let us know what kind of Polish F&B products, from your point of view and your knowledge and experiences, and I will add also taking into account the development of agriculture and processed industry in your country, which is in line with the national food security strategy, which you already mentioned, have no and in the long term a chance to develop stable, permanent and systematic sustainable export to your country?
Thank you for that question. So the UAE National Food Security has 18 main items identified as part of the food agenda, food security agenda, yeah? So in the UAE, we can grow certain vegetables, but around 80% of our agriculture includes wheat, grains, and so on, we cannot still produce. We apply new technologies to develop new agricultural techniques, which is one of the most interesting investment areas, let's say. In the UAE, imports make up 90% of all food consumed, as food production under local conditions is very resource intensive. Hence, it is necessary to boost research and development on the sustainable agriculture. In terms of opportunities, I think there are opportunities across the board for exporters, more or less in every sector, to the extent that products meet the demand of the UAE consumer. Sectors where there are particularly strong needs include meat, fruit, vegetables, not dates. Dates we have. But let me say this on a personal note, from my personal experience. I do love Polish baked goods, and I love even more Polish fruits, including apples and berries, which to me are like unbeatable in anywhere. If anyone here has had Polish apples, you can smell the freshness at arm's length. I keep saying this story, but because it is true. Thank you.
Thank you, Ahmed. It is always I would say I like to, when I introduce the Emirati partners to Poland, I always try to pursue them saying, you will feel the taste and the smell of the Polish orchard if you visit us. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. Thank you, everyone.
Once again, a huge thank you for having time for us and all information provided. Thank you very much. Have a good day in Poland, in Warsaw.
Take care. Bye-bye.
And now, Excellency Dr. Issam, it is your turn to share with us the information about requirements in importing food to the UAE. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much for this introduction. And honestly, I would like to thank the organizer for this event. I will share my presentation now. I'm going to speak about the Food Safety Department in Dubai Municipality. So the Food Safety Department, it is under the Health and Safety and Environment sector. And we are having 4 main sections. In this, we have the first section to the left, Food Study section. They are in charge of the food regulations. Food Inspection section, they are in charge of all the premises in Dubai, food premises. And we have Permits and Applied Nutrition, they are in charge of the new establishment and nutrition. Finally, Food Trade Control section. So we are going to focus on Food Trade Control section. Food Trade Control section, this is the main section that we are in charge of the all imported food to Dubai. So we have in the seaports, we have 5 gates or borders. In the airports, we have 5 gates in Dubai International Airport and Al Maktoum international airport. Also, we have 2 land ports, one at the border and Aladdin Yard. And finally, we have the follow-up team, so that their main responsibility that whenever the food shipments come to Dubai and we didn't inspect it in the border, we inspect it in the warehouse of the food trader. We are open 24 hours. So all the borders are open 24 hours. This is the location of our all borders and the entrance points of the food consignment to Dubai. So our main responsibility is to inspect and release all imported food. Number 2, to inspect and release all the food for re-export. And we have third mandatory and responsibility is supervising food destruction process in case the shipments arrive to Dubai and it's spoiled or damaged, so we destruct it. And finally, verify the compliance of the imported food stuff through physical inspection, labeling inspection, and sampling. So on average, per month, we are getting from the land port almost 6,000 shipments, from airport almost an average 12,000 consignment, seaport 12,600, and the follow-up team, they are receiving almost 3,000 shipments that we inspected in the warehouse. So the services that we provide in this section: food consignment release permit, food export health certificate in case someone would like to export the food from Dubai, so we issue the health certificate. Food consignment transfer between Emirates, so whatever food comes to Dubai, we can transfer it to other Emirates, Abu Dhabi, Chargé, Ajman, and other Emirates. Food destruction services, and release the food consignment for re-export. As you know, Dubai is a hub of food, so many companies export food to Dubai on purpose to send it to other parts of the world. So also we inspect this type of food. So we have the FIRS system, which is food import and re-export system, that all the food traders in Dubai, they are using it to import food. The customer journey, first of all, come to the pre-import phase. So they have to register the food and the company. Then second thing, register and the label of the food product. So we register the product and the food label. Number 3, we ensure the availability of the documents. So all the documents should be available, and I will inform you what exactly documents. And it is strongly recommended that the pre-laboratory test to be done for the food that you are planning to export it to Dubai, to make sure that it's complying with our standard. Then the food trader should apply the import request. Then after the shipment arrives to Dubai, which is number 5, the food trader should bring the shipment to the inspection area. Then physical inspection will be conducted in the port of entry. In case if the system asks for laboratory test, we'll take a sample. And finally, the consignment will be released to the local market. That's a very brief for the journey of the food consignments. About the documents, it's required health certificate from the government. Number 2, halal certificate in case of meat and poultry and their products. So whenever a shipment that comes with the meat and meat products, halal certificate should be available. Packing list, other certificates in case of you are bringing fish from farm fish, you need pork-free diet certificate. But if it's wild fish, no need for this certificate. Organic certificate and GMO certificate in case of claim. So whenever a food there's a claim that it is GMO or organic, a certificate should be provided. Organic certificate, there's bodies that approved by Ministry of Climate Change. You can reach to this list through the website or the link which is available in the presentation. So there are certain certification body for organic food, and you can provide the certificate from this organization. What is the details need for the health certificate? That's usually done by the government, issuing the health certificate, logo, the address, the title of the consignee, the certificate number, date issue, exporter, and other all information. This is required in the health certificate. The production and expiry date is very important also, and should be from the government authority. Health certificate should, as I mentioned, should be issued by the government body, they are in charge of the food, and GMO should also come from government body. The food label requirement. So this is all the information should be available in the food item: the barcode, the production date, brand name, net weight, and the other information like the country of origin. And Arabic label is very important. How to export food to Dubai or UAE? The food manufacturer and exporter can export their food through any distributing company based in Dubai, or by obtaining a trade license that having UAE general trade license or whatever activities in Dubai. So the main people who are able to import and use our system, the people who are based in Dubai or any part of UAE. So in Chargé, Ajman, other Emirates, if they have food companies, they are also able to import food through Dubai border. The rules of the exporter comply with the food standard in UAE. So the exporter should know that the label of the food and the shelf life should comply with the UAE standard. And he should provide the importer in Dubai all the documents required. The rule of the importer, he should make sure that food is registered and label assessment being done, and he should follow up all the inspection to make sure the food is released, and submit this all documents to our point of entry. So item registration, and we have item label assessment. So the registration is to enable the trader to import their food production products and apply for import request and apply for the health certificate, so he will be able to release the shipment. Label assessment, that will help the food traders to make sure that his food is complying with the standards. For example, all the details, the protein level, percentage of the protein, percentage of the all the ingredients of this product is matching with the UAE. So to avoid stopping this product from the port of entry, it's recommended to do label assessment. So we have label registration, it is compulsory. Label assessment, it is not compulsory, but we, as an inspector in the border, we make sure that all the ingredients is meeting the requirement. So to avoid any stoppage of the food shipment, should make sure that food is registered and label is assessed. As we said previously, halal certificate is very important to get the slaughterhouse and the halal certificate. We'll show you now the slaughterhouses. This is the list where you can find all the slaughterhouses which is approved by Ministry of Climate Change. For halal, you have to go to the ESMA website. You can find all the halal bodies who are approved to send the to certify the halal products to UAE. And also we have another list which is called Emirates International Accreditation Center. Also you can find halal lists in this link. So we have two lists for halal from ESMA and Emirates International Accreditation Center. Here you can find all the, as we said, the accredited bodies for that. We'll show you now some statistics for the imported food to UAE and to Dubai, and later on food imported from Poland to Dubai. And generally, you can see number of the imported food consignment in 2019, 345,000 food consignment being imported, and in 2020, 286,000 food consignment being imported. Number of the imported food items so each individual item we count in this system. We imported in 2019 1.9 million individual food items, and in 2020 1.7 million items being imported. So in our system, each barcode will be registered as an individual food item. If we see by the tons, in 2019 7.7 million tons of food being imported through Dubai borders. In 2020, 7.9 million tons, mainly the wheat and the seeds that came in more than the other food items during the 2020 because of the COVID and the people that they were panicked. So a lot of food being imported in 2020, especially after the lockdown. If you go more in Poland statistics, so we can see here number of the imported food consignment from Poland in 2019, 1,200, and 2020, 1,054 food consignment being imported. Total number of the containers, so sometimes each consignment have more than one container. So number of the food containers increased from 1,800 in 2019 to 2,100 in 2020. Number of the imported food items also it's increased. In 2019, we can see 5,800 food items being imported, comparing to 2020, which is 6,395. The quantity of food also we can see it's increased from 23,000 ton to 32,000 ton in 2020. We'll see now the food groups and the food items. We can see in 2020, the main food groups that be important from Poland to Dubai, it is dairy products, chocolates and fruits, and then meats and beverage, and go down. And if we go to the individual items, we can see it's liquid milk, apples, cream cheese, field milk, and going down to the black teas and the beef chucks. So this is all the exact amount that been imported from Poland in 2020. So with the imported food, some contraventions been founded for the shipments that been imported from Poland. So we'll see generally the number of the contraventions that been recorded from the Poland shipments. We can see there's a good progress from 1,900 contraventions to 735 contraventions in 2020. Mainly the main contraventions usually either the documentation or unfit samples, and we'll go in more details now. So for the label contraventions, for example, it shows that number of the contraventions decreased from 1,100 to 393. So whenever the label that imported to Dubai or the product that having this label, we inspect it, we make sure that's meeting our standard or not. In case if not meeting, we register it as a contravention. In these cases, the product may not be released to the market. It may go to the catering, or it will go to the manufacturers only, and maybe the food trader won't be able to export this product to GCC country or even to other Emirates. That totally depends on the type of the contravention, and we'll go in more details also. Here, certificate contraventions, mainly we mean halal certificate and health certificate. So it shows also there's a good progress in the number of the contravention, which sees that's very less, 338 certificate contraventions, comparing to 2016 and 2019, which is 700 almost. Number of unfit samples, here we can see the graph. Also, there's a good progress in the number on unfit samples. Usually unfit samples divided to two: safety issues or quality issue. So in case of quality issue, we release the shipment to the catering after specific studies from study section. And in case of safety issue, the shipment will be rejected totally. So we can see in 2020 only 4 unfit samples being found from the Poland shipments. Here we'll examples for the contraventions and the weight of the product that has been rejected or been controlled. For example, number 1, health certificate not submitted. So in this case, is usually the importer will get a fine, 3,000 dirham, which is almost, I think, $700. Second contravention, only a copy submitted. So also this another fine, which is almost 3,000 dirham, the same amount. We can see number of the contravention of health certificate, it is 101, comparing to health certificate also others. The second contravention, which also copy submitted, 71. Arabic label is not declared, 53. Country of origin is not declared, 43. So we can see this all from number 1 until number 9 or 10. It's all documentation. So it's not a big deal, but it's a regulation that the exporter or the importer, they are not complying. usually we restrict this type of the shipments, so we'll not allow the food importer to send this food to the other Emirates or to sell it in the shelf of the supermarkets or other companies, food companies. So we would like this contravention to be reduced and to be minimized as much as we can. To avoid it or to make less contravention, we would appreciate if we are able to have a initiative of link between our system and the Poland system, who are in charge of the issuing health certificate, as we make it with New Zealand. Now we have with the New Zealand, we had almost more than 1,000 health certificate issues. Nowadays, after activating the integration with New Zealand, number of the contravention for health certificate and halal certificate is 0. So now all the shipments from New Zealand to Dubai, it is never found any health certificate issue or halal certificate issue. The shipments being released much faster, reduce the cost, because usually we ask the food importer to bring the original health certificate and halal certificate, but with the integration, no need for the original. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Essam, very much for the presentation. So to make it so comprehensively, just a short note to the connecting system between Poland and UAE. The last point which you mentioned, we are working on that, and we are in touch, and we just try we will try. It is not so easy from technical point of view, but we will talk about about it later on. Okay, I think, ladies and gentlemen, and I believe that such information is extremely, which we got from Dr. Essam, is extremely crucial for Polish producers to avoid some troubles in Dubai ports, and thus costs and food waste as well. Dr. Essam, there are questions for you. I see two and a half, to be honest. And the first question is about facilitating the import of food because of the pandemic. A question arises, what are the facilitations and whether they are still valid and until when they will apply? And before I will give you the words, I was asked to ask our participants to switch off the cameras from technical point of view, because it's a weak signal from one of our interpreters. Please stay only switch on speakers. Sorry to say that, but we have to improve our connection, especially from the interpreter side. Okay, Essam, can you answer to my question, to the first question, please?
Yeah, regarding facilitating the business, currently we are accepting health certificate, which is come from the government. So during Corona COVID crisis, we start to accept the copy only, and this is still continuing, and still we didn't receive any instruction to stop it. So this is number one. Number two, also the restriction for the Arabic label, it is it is accepted that to have the product without Arabic label, and which is also, this is another facilitating for the food importer to import the food in much cheaper price. So it's this opportunity for all food importers to have it now.
Okay, Dr. Essam, thank you very much. And the second question is about registration of food products. Can a Polish company register its products on its own? And to make it more difficult, in two different situations. Firstly, the product is already registered by Emirati distributor or trader in the Dubai municipality system, but Polish company wants to sell to the another one. And the second situation is in case that the product is completely new and the Polish company has no contracts yet. I think in this case, it's more about to be secured and to have an own license. Please, can you just answer the question? And this half, I would say it was about the registration costs.
Okay. Regarding the food registration, first of all, Dubai Municipality platform for food registration, it is not a platform for the agents. So, for example, if anyone registers the food for the first time, it will be appear for any other food trader. So all of them, they are able to select this food and import it. So we are not a platform for agency, the food. So it's only to list this product in our system, to be aware that when the shipment arrives, this food is available in this shipment. So it's only to list the product. That's our registration, number one. Number two, in case the food, it is registered already. So if you are a company based in UAE and you have the access to the food FIRS, so you will be able to see this product and you can select it and import it. If you are a company which is based in Poland and you don't have the access to our system, it will be difficult for you currently to register the food because you need to be registered in UAE to be able to register the food. So companies usually do it through logistic companies in Dubai and they have the access, or any food companies. So they are able to register the food, and the cost for the food registration is only 7 dirham.
Only 7 dirham?
Yeah, for registration of food, it's for free. Food
Okay.
labeling, 7 dirham. Yeah.
Okay, that means the Polish company can't register on its own, yeah?
Yes, they are not able unless they have an access through UAE. Someone having the access, yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. It is very important information. Dr. S. Issam, thank you for your time and for your very useful information you shared with us. All I can say is that we appreciate Dubai Municipality contribution in facilitating the supply of Polish healthy food that complies with Polish food safety system as well as the EU system. I hope you and your team, you visit us at Galfood. Thank you very much and have a good day. Thank you. Bye-bye, Dr. Issam. Ladies and gentlemen, the topic of legal requirements is related to the issue of standardization and norms, which are often modified not only in the EU. Now, Dr. Hassan will provide us with an update on this. Dr. Hassan, it is your time to present to us the topic.
Thank you very much. I hope that my sound is okay. You hear me? Yeah. Okay, I will just put the presentation. No, it's okay.
Yes, it's okay. We can see.
Great. Great. I want just to highlight that thank you very much, and thank you for the audience also to have with us some insight. I think I hope that you will have more information about the regulation in the GCC countries, and I will focus also after that with the UAE country, the regulation here applied in UAE. I'll just go for the next one. Okay, the agenda for today, we'll discuss about the regulatory bodies for standards in GCC. As you know, GCC, it's, I will go back to the previous slide. You can see, for example, all Middle East countries and North Africa, We have Saudi, UAE, Oman, Qatar, Bahrain, Kuwait, and Yemen. Yemen, it's included to the GCC for the standardization. That means all regulation in all applied in all GCC, it's applied also in Yemen. Then I will speak about labeling regulation, traffic light standard in UAE and Saudi, the requirement for the organic product, the UAE regulation issued recently. Then the GSO, new GSO draft that are still waiting for comment, some of them waiting for comment. And SFDA, this is for Saudi regulation. And then after that, we'll discuss about ECAS and EQM certification in UAE. This is applied for ESMA 10 product. I will show you also the regulated product for to apply this ECAS and EQM certification. We'll discuss a little bit about halal and the excise tax. I will go briefly discussing about this, and we'll show you why the local consultant is important for all businesses in case of there is no regulatory body in the countries. First, we'll concentrate on the regulatory bodies for standards in GCC. You can see here, we have the Bahraini and Oman, Kuwait, ESMA, Saudi, and Qatar regulators. And we have the GSO. As you can see here, GSO, they are handling facilitating having the GSO standard. Of course, there is technical committee where all the GCC authority are participant on this committee, and GSO, they are facilitating having the new standard. We'll go now for the labeling of prepackaged foodstuff regulation. Normally, I think Dr. Issam mentioned some of this, or maybe he mentioned all this requirement for the labeling. If you want to have just a look about this, like the brand name should be mentioned, product name, descriptor, also the list of ingredients, and of course with the list of ingredients, allergen should be mentioned. This is obligatory, and sometimes in case of a line of the product having some of allergic ingredient should be mentioned on the sticker also, or on the label itself. We have to put nutritional information. This will go through it later on. This is a new regulation that should be it's applied already. The net content should be mentioned as well. Of course, some of this information should be mentioned on the front of pack. Some of them can be mentioned in any area of the packaging. Production date, expiry date is a must. A lot code and batch code. Of course, this is also for, as you know, for traceability reason. The storage condition, instruction for use, and also the name and address of the manufacturer or packer or importer. The country of origin, it's obligatory to be mentioned, the barcode and the logo and mark. Later on, we will of course have the section, session of question and answer. Of course, if you have any question, please note it down now, and we'll discuss later on. Concerning the list of declaration, there is some information that you have to know about it. As I mentioned, for example, for the declaration concerning the ingredient, this also should be mentioned by order. That means you put the main ingredient from the beginning, and depends the quantity of the ingredient you have to mention from the beginning until the end of the ingredient list. That means the list quantity of the ingredient should be mentioned on the last declaration. Special requirement for certain ingredient like a dairy, oil, spices, etc. For example, for milk, milk product, we have to mention the origin of the milk, if it is cow milk or other sheep milk, etc. For the oil, we cannot mention only vegetable oil, source of oil, like any kind of, for example, olive oil, etc. Spices also, it depends. In case of the spices, it's more than 5% in the ingredient list. We have to mention every spice between brackets. We can mention spices, and between bracket we mentioned. There is other requirement also based on the ingredient. In case of you have any question, we can, of course, depends the product you have. Allergen declaration, flavoring declaration. For the flavoring, I want to highlight that flavoring, we cannot mention only flavoring as a part of the ingredient. We have to mention the source of the ingredient and also the name of the ingredient, for example, for the flavoring. For example, we can mention like artificial flavoring, and we have to put between bracket, for example, if it is fruit, if it is any kind of the flavoring that we have to mention, if it is artificial or if it is natural or like natural identical flavoring. For food additives, also we can mention the name and also the E number. As you know, this E number is very important for the authority and also for the consumers. Some of these food additives, they have like allergen characteristic, and this should be mentioned. Also, sometimes for the halal reason, some people, they don't own some of these food additives because the halal reason. Colorant declaration, the same. For colorant, we have to mention natural or artificial color. And of course, we mentioned the E number in case of it is natural, for example. If there is no E number, then we have to mention like natural color, and we have to mention the source of this color. Sweeteners and their warning statement. There is some, this we'll discuss later on about the sweeteners allergen. Sometimes they put, for example, for the concentration of children, etc. And enzyme declaration should be ingredient list. This is very interesting topic light now. The traffic light, now this regulation, it's already issued. You hear me? It's okay.
Yes, we can hear you, but with some breaks.
Yeah. Received like low signal.
Mm-hmm.
Low signal here. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Concerning the traffic light, we have for UAE and Saudi, there is a regulation concerning traffic light. The principle of traffic light, this is for the consumer to know about the content of the energy, fat, saturated fat, sugar, and salt in the products. And because in GCC, for example, here there is the obesity rate, it's high, and the authority want to protect the consumers and want that the consumers to be aware about the content of this fat, sugar, and salt in the product. And as you know that now more and more the consumers are more interested to see these items. For example, who's making keto, who's making other like diets. This is very important to know about it. The traffic light, why it's called traffic? Because traffic light, because there is like 3 colors, the green, orange, and red. Of course, there is, I don't know if I put it here in the slides. No, not really. Yeah, there is in the regulation, it's very clear when we put the, for example, for any of this, for salt, sugar, and fat, and saturated fat, which percentage in the product we have to have the color, for example, like low and high and medium. Of course, we can share it with you in case of you have any interested like questions, we can discuss later on about this. It's mandatory. It will be implemented in January 2022. It was issued in 2018, and the authority want to give like a long grace period, because some companies maybe want to change the formula of their product. For example, to reduce sugar, to be instead of to have it like a red color, to be orange, or from orange to green color. For that, in case of you need any help, of course, we'll check the formula of your product, and we can guide you in case of you can. Like sometimes, you know, the content of this items maybe in the board reduce a little bit, then the color it changed. And of course, when it is more green, the consumers will like and will like have it and buy it. And this traffic light icons should be on the front of page, front of label. The front of label meaning that when you put this product on the shelf, then this will be shown to the consumers. And this regulation will be mandatory. It will be applicable in January 2022. And I advise you that to start working on that, maybe changing also the label you have. Try to exhaust the product you have with the current label, and try to start making this traffic light in your product. This is especially for UAE. For Saudi, it's a similar regulation, but it is voluntary. Before it was decided to make it like mandatory, but after that, the SFDA, the Saudi authority, prefer to have it like voluntary, maybe to see the impact of the business maybe in UAE, then they will go again to have it like mandatory. Yeah, the product exempted from traffic light, it's unprocessed product. For example, like you have like fruit and other product which is unprocessed, or cereals, anything that it's not processed. Some of, for example, for water, it's not required. Energy drink, chewing gum, carbonated beverage. The reason for why the authority doesn't want to put this traffic light in energy drinks, chewing gum, and carbonated beverage, because they consider these three, or at least for energy drink and carbonated beverage, consumer, in case of, let's say, there is like salt, of course, always for energy drink, carbonated beverage, it will be always green. For fat, it will be always green. That means maybe the consumer will be attracted by this green, and they will more. For that, the authority preferred not to have this traffic light for these three items. Now we'll go to the requirement for organic product in UAE and Saudi. The definition of organic food, yeah, there is a lot of people, especially consumers, doesn't know exactly organic. It's well described and defined in Saudi, for example, this definition, where the product should be free from fertilizers, pesticides, synthetic chemical drugs, and growth hormones, and it's not allowed to have the genetically modified strains, and also shouldn't be ionized with the radiation, and also should be free from preservatives. I think this logos was shared with Dr. Isam concerning the allowed logos for the organic food. For this is the logos here, the left side, it's for UAE, and the right side, the table, this is for example, Germany, Saudi, certification, US, Italy, and France, where you have these logos it was like these logos are recognized by the authority in Saudi. Yeah, for UAE regulation issued recently, I want to share with you this this item. I want to. Yeah, as you can see here for UAE standard, all this regulation standard and technical regulation issued by UAE authority, by ESMA, for the labeling, requirement for nutritional labeling and permitted health and nutrition claims. The additives regulation, it was issued in 2019 also, and honey. We have other recent also regulation, for example, I will explain now for the labeling, new regulation for UAE. It was issued in February 2020 and let's say approved in the authority 2020. And normally when a standard is approved and also final, normally the authority in GCC, including UAE, Saudi, they give like grace period, 6 months of grace period to apply this regulation. Sometimes it's not enough for the companies to change the label, for example, like here. And the impact of the regulation is huge for manufacturer, because we had received also as a consultancy company a lot of requests to have like exceptions, to ask the authority to have exception for to continue their the client and the companies to complete or to exhaust the existing labeling and 3 other months as a grace period to have it. Sometimes we yeah, of course, the authority, they are here in UAE, they are very flexible and they can understand. But this normally is case by case. They don't accept every time, but it's case by case. Of course, when we give them the strong case, they accept. Also, I want to highlight about this is very important thing, because maybe a lot of companies doesn't know that. As you know, for the R&D, in your factories, you have the research and development department and also maybe quality department. They want to put the logo of ISO. When you get the ISO 22000, for example, and HACCP, this can be, and HACCP certificate, and that means that the product is certified by recognized certificate. In this regulation, it's allowed to put the ISO 22000 or HACCP, but in condition that you have to prove it, you have to have the certificate from the recognized certifying body. The phrases or logo or symbol related to quality management, like the ISO 9001, should not be declared on the label in any way, even if you have, of course, the certificate. But this is because this is the quality management system. This is not relevant normally to declare it on the label. Other thing, there is a lot of things that I don't want to go through all of them, just maybe because I saw a lot of companies that you are working on milk and milk derivatives and dairy product. The milk, as I mentioned, that the milk should be having the source of milk, and also to be referred as a drink, cannot be referred to as milk. For example, milk substitute here, like a soya drink and almond drink, for example. Now we can find in the market, in the what I think in Europe, maybe in your market, that they mentioned about almond milk and and also soya milk. And here it's not allowed anymore. This should be mentioned as a drink. I think only coconut milk, maybe it's allowed. I don't have any information about it, but at least for almond and soya should be mentioned as drink. The warning statement, of course, should be declared, and they put more allergen in the list of the allergen ingredient. And the regulation was enforced in August 2020. The warning statement, it depends in case of, for example, product containing sucralose, the storage condition, the storage temperature should be mentioned. For aspartame, the label should contain not used by people with phenylketonuria, or the phrase which is contain this phenylalanin as well. For it's like every ingredient, we have to be careful about it and to see exactly what we have to mention as a warning statement on the label. As Dr. Isa mentioned, that sometimes for the label, in case of it's not comply with the regulation here in UAE, they can reject the product. Sometimes you have to pay 3,000 dirham, which is almost $1,000 for every shipment in case of you want to enter with the some of the non-compliant products for labeling. For that, we advise you to be sure that the label it's comply all with the regulation. Now, for the requirement for the nutritional labeling, this regulation it's issued in beginning of 2020, and it was enforced in August 2020. But we received a lot of requests. Not only us, also the authority received a lot of requests to postpone this, because this regulation, you have to change the packaging and you have to put some additional information on the nutritional facts, the table that you have to mention the cholesterol, and also you have to mention the included sugar, added sugar. This is very important now. And in case of the authority find any non-compliant back with this declaration, they can ship and they can ask to ship it back to the country of origin. After a lot of requests from the companies, the authority postponed this to be applied beginning of January 2021. That means now it's enforced already. I don't know if you already started changing the label of your product. Otherwise, we can help you to see what the level of the cholesterol and the sugar that to be applied, and we can work with you for the label of your product. Another regulation for UAE, it's like the permitted health and nutrition claim. It's already issued on February 2020 and also applied in August, enforced in August 2020. For that, there is, I will give you some example about the claims, the health claim that, for example, for protein, in case of you want, let's say, mentioned in one of your product source of protein on the front of pack, for example, just to give more value to your product, or high in protein. You know, some people, especially who's making keto and other diet, they prefer to have their product with high protein, for example, or maybe the people who's making the athletes, for example, they want to have this product. Then there is a condition. It's not we cannot mention something like this until if we have like 2 times the value for source, in case of we want to mention the source of protein as well. As per the SFDA, at least should be 20% of the energy value of the food is provided by protein. vitamin and mineral source of vitamins, high in vitamins. Also, this can be, should be, there is some condition for that. Dietary fiber also, in case of one mentioned source or high in dietary fiber. For the health claim, we have, for example, for vitamin C, contribute, now the phrase of the claim itself, in case of, we mentioned for example, vitamin C contribute to the normal function of the immune system. The condition that the claim can be used only for food which is at least a source of protein. When we have like source of protein, that this means it's authorized. I don't know if we have extra. Now we move to the additives standard. The UAE issued in February 2020 the additive standard. We believe now for the additives requirement, the UAE is the easiest regulation for the additives because it's very simple. They follow the Codex Alimentarius, which is well known internationally for the regulation. And also in case of we don't find an additive in the Codex positive list, then we can go to the EU additives database and be sure that in case it is with the positive list in EU, then that will be allowed to put it in the ingredient and also in the formula. Of course, there is warning, as I mentioned, concerning colors. There is 6 colors now. Before it was 4 colors with the warning statement. This material, for example, like Ponso 4R and Quinolone yellow, this E number, the additives number, the label should contain this material may have an adverse effect on the concentration and activity of children. This now, for these 2 colors are obligatory to mention on the label. And of course, all food products exported to UAE must abide with this new regulation. Now we discuss about UAE regulation. And now we'll move to the GSO draft standard and technical regulation. I want to just highlight concerning the standard and technical regulation. Normally the standard is like voluntary in case of the name of standard on the document or in the regulation, that means it's voluntary. But of course, we have to abide on this standard in case of you don't have other international standard can cover this, for example, a product. Technical regulation, no, this is like obligatory and this is mandatory to apply. Now, I want to explain about the GSO and World Trade Organization. When the authority in GSO, in GCC, start making a new draft for the regulation, for the standard or technical regulation, they make the first draft of the regulation, and they distribute it between all authority in GCC. Then after that, they make it public but it's local comment. That means for all companies locally and also internationally, like in Poland, for example, you can participate on commenting on this first draft. We can help you to show you the draft related to your product and make the comparison between this new draft and also the current regulation. In case, let's say, for example, for milk powder, for example, in case of there is a draft, we make the comparison between the current one and this new draft, and we tell you what's the difference. And in case of we know your product, we can tell you, alert you immediately that, look, the protein now level, it's increased in the regulation, and you should be careful about it. And maybe we'll ask in case of we can interfere here and help you to modify this regulation, of course, based on scientific and the international regulation that can assist and can also support the case. For example, when when the first draft is issued and the authority responsible about a draft standard, they collect all the comment and they make the final draft. Then this final draft, and of course this step, it's important for you to comment before that to be final draft, because the final draft will go to the World Trade Organization. The GSO, they will notify World Trade Organization. This will be widely public, and we have like 60 days, like 2 months, to comment on this new draft. And the country who's making the responsible in GCC, the responsible about this draft, collect all the feedback from the companies, and from not only on companies, and also from organization. As you know, there is a lot of organization can make, even for any individual can comment in case of there is any supportive scientific standard, for example, or international standard. Once the draft become finalized, as I mentioned, that will go for WTO, commenting for 60 days, and all the comment will be collected. Some of the comment can be adopted by the country who's issuing this standard, and some of them, we saw a lot of standard issued by GSO, the final one, and also the enforced one, where they didn't get any comment from any company. They just, it is the same as first draft. For that, really, because maybe some company, they are not aware about it, and it became like final and enforced, and that will be late to comment and late to make it. It will be very difficult for the companies. Of course, sometimes in case of really that we have very good supportive documents, supportive references, we can see the situation. And after it is published, they will give 6 months grace period for the companies. Now we'll go for the draft, which is now still draft, but it's in the last stage for adoption. I mean, to make it public and final. This is for the labeling and for sweeteners, additives, flavored drink, and also for the dairy draft product analog. This is the product analog where you can replace the milk fat with vegetable fat. Also, we commented a lot on that based on the request of some companies, our clients. Yeah, like for example, the additives also, we received a lot of requests from our clients to add some additives and or increase the percentage of some additives also based on their category of product. Yeah, there is other draft for the bottled drinking water for the labeling, and for vitamins and minerals permitted for use in foodstuff. Condition for the use of some terms such as fresh, pure, natural, and other terms where placing food label, because for like marketing reason, some companies prefer to put like fresh milk, fresh cocoa powder, or pure one of the pure ingredient. They use natural ingredient, and other terms. There's new draft. Anyway, in case of you want to comment in any of this, we can assist you. For the general requirement for novel food also, in case of there is no standard for a category of product or a product you are producing, then can be classified as novel food, and there is some condition, of course, for the labeling of fruit juices, nectar, and fruit drinks. Now we move on for the SFDA. This is for the Saudi regulation. We can see here for the requirement of nutritional labeling. and also for the requirement for health and nutrition claim. We showed the UAE one, but it's not really similar. Sometimes there is some differences. We have to be careful. Sometimes a product can be approved and comply with the UAE regulation, but it's not apply or complying with the Saudi regulation. For that, and also since there is a GSO, the GSO it's applied in other GCC countries like Qatar, Bahrain, and Oman and Yemen. Or there is 3 standards in GCC, unfortunately. Or before that, it was only one standard for it's for GSO for all GCC, and since it was taking sometimes for adopting GSO standard, UAE preferred to have their own standard, and also Saudi preferred to have their own standard, and that complicates things, you know, in the region here. And I believe that when you want, even if now you want to import or export your product to UAE, and maybe later on, of course, when it is well marketed here and you are happy with your sales here, maybe you want to extend to other GCC countries, but here you have to be careful. Sometimes your product, it's not always, we cannot say that always when it is complied with UAE regulation, it's complied with other GCC. We have the processed cheese also, this new standard, and labeling for juices, nectar. This is all this enforced standard for infant formula as well. We have for labeling, draft Saudi, and we have the draft mandatory expiration date. This is for shelf life, and there is mandatory and there is like voluntary shelf life regulation. Saudi FDA, we have the draft for vitamins, mineral permitted in use of food stuff, and also there is draft for honey, dairy analog, general requirement for novel food. This is also for Saudi. Now we'll move to the ECAS and EQM certification in UAE and the regulated product. EQM, this now we are focusing now for UAE, the ESMA requirement for to have certain certification for certain products. For example, ECAS, which is Emirate Conformity Assessment Scheme, applied in UAE. I will not go through all this. I will just tell you about the regulated product. Of course, this is very important for you to have this certificate. For example, if you have energy drink, food control, for honey, organic products, for example, this you have to have the ECAS. In case of you want to import for the food contact material or also biodegradable plastic, if you want to export plastic also for food product, this should be certified by ESMA and get the ECAS certification. Now we go for Emirates Quality Mark. Of course, for every like ESMA, for ECAS and for EQM, there is a process for that. There is a lot of certificate required documentation, and of course there is a portal system in ESMA. There is certifying body where normally we make like the pre-assessment for certification, and a certifying body recognized by ESMA, they issue the certificate. Emirates Quality Mark, I will go through the regulated product. We have for bottled drinking water, for milk and dairy products should be certified in ESMA, certified EQM certification should be mentioned, and this is mandatory. EQM certificate for juice and beverage product. This is very important also to know about this certificate to be applied in depend the category of your product. And maybe other other product categories will be under the EQM certification in the future. For that, you need somebody, can be like your office here, in case of you have any representative here, has access to the authority, and or you can use a consultant company like ours to tell you exactly what kind of new certification required and the enforcement date. We have, because we have in our company, we have a system, a service, we call it horizon scanning. We help the company in daily basis what's happening as a regulation in the country here, and sometimes what is under preparation. Sometimes even if it is not issued yet, but since we have very good relationship with the authorities, by contacting them daily basis, and also sometimes we research and there also some news, etc. We have a department especially for this horizon scanning, and we make monthly newsletter also with all this new regulation and new draft. Now we'll go for halal. I will try to be short for halal. Dr. Issam mentioned about the halal. Some products should be coming with halal certification, which is meat, poultry, and animal derivative products and animal ingredients. Sometimes product containing such ingredient and the halal label. This is very important to know when you declare halal in your product, because sometimes we see in Asia, for example, you can see halal. They mentioned water logo or water halal on the label. Of course, one time it was mentioned in one of the products. Immediately, the authority requested the company to. Of course, there is some logic to have halal logo in water, but we don't want to be exaggerating, to have this kind of things. But of course, in case of you mentioned halal, for example, let's say in a product, in dairy product, for example, in milk, in any kind of product, even if it does not have meat product, but you want to mention halal, there is no issue for that. You mentioned halal logo on your product, but you have to have the halal certificate. In case of you have the halal logo or halal declaration in your product, without this certificate, this will be rejected in the border, and you have to get back to the country of origin. Yeah, some authorities may ask for the halal certificate. For example, for cheese, as you know, there is like in the process, there is a byproduct can be non-halal, and also for other fermented product, some of the product containing ethyl alcohol, which is the ethanol. Of course, for the ethanol, there is a very, very strict regulation in GCC and UAE. For that, to be careful about the content of course, adding ethanol, it's forbidden in any way. You cannot add ethanol. Sometimes there is flavors, for example, with extracted by ethanol. Also, in case of there is any traces of ethanol, it's not allowed when you add it to when you add this flavor to your product. For that, you have to be careful about it. Of course, there is some limits, traces of alcohol allowed here. There is regulation for that, but it shouldn't be added intentionally. For the halal, we have ESMA, we have SFDA, and also the product to be approved by the halal certificate in the Ministry of Public Health in Qatar. Now, I want to mention the only halal certifying body in Poland recognized by ESMA. It's a halal correct, and in general, for globally, there is 67 halal certification body are approved in ESMA. For the Halal Correct Poland is the only halal certification body approved by ESMA in Poland, and Polish Institute of Halal is accredited but not approved by ESMA, unfortunately. But sometimes we see in case of the non-risk material that it's mentioned halal. Sometimes there is acceptance to have the halal logo on it, especially when the product it's not very sensitive and there is no meat on the product. Of course, we can share with you also the list of ESMA approved halal certification body globally. Now we'll go very brief about the excise tax. The excise tax, it's like additional tax to some of the products. It's mainly, it was made to reduce the consumption of some sugary products. For example, for carbonated drink in GCC, they have this fixed 50% for the carbonated drink, like soft drink, etc. For energy drink, it's 100%. That means in case of a product normally is sold in the market 5 dirham, or let's say $1 now, it became $2. $1 is for the authority and $1 for the company. Then the consumer will pay this $2. Sweetened beverage, also this is recent issued, almost like 1 year and something. Also, in case of a product containing any kind of sugar and also any kind of sweeteners in any percentage, this the tax rate is 50%. Of course, there is some exception. For example, like unflavored aerated beverage and energy drink, there is no exception. This is all energy drink. When you have this description on the product, it's 100% taxed. And in case of your beverage, it's containing more than 75% of milk, then this it will be exempted from this tax. Sometimes in UAE and also in Saudi, but especially in UAE, what we have experience here, the Federal Taxation Authority, they classify some product which is considered for them is considered as sweetened beverage, for example, like juice beverage, for example, juice product, and the manufacturer or the company, they don't add sugar or sweetener on the product, but just they add like concentrate of some juices. Some they want to classify it under the taxable one, and they classify under 50% increase. Here we have some example success stories that check the formula and convincing them about the product that doesn't contain any sweetened ingredient, for example. Okay, now I will move for why using the local consultancy. Just 1 second, please. Okay. Slides, very important for the companies because it's very, sometimes it's changing the regulation of your product, and you should be aware about it. For that, you need, as I mentioned, that the local consultant should be a partner with you for this. The policy and the regulatory changes, you should know about it. And for innovation, renovation of your product, in case of you want to have a sustainable business in GCC and UAE, that you should know about all this regulation. because I believe that all companies want to not have only one shipment and that's all, but they want to continue and make sustainable business in the area here. And of course, you have to be proactive and to ensure that you are aware about all this regulation. I mentioned some of the feature or the requirement of the authority. Sometimes there is like scientific knowledge deficiency in case of manufacturer doesn't know about what the authorities need from the manufacturer to know about it. Then I put here for the local consultant how they remove this wall. For example, instead of static communication, you will have dynamic communication. We can be your partner here, and you can work as your ambassador in by contacting the authority and supporting your position. For the scientific knowledge deficiency, you will have it like proficiency. And the language barrier, of course, the language here you will have for the language, it's for communication abilities by like physical communication and also sometimes to write letters, emails, etc. And also, of course, the label itself to be always with the local language, which is a must. For the authority identification, you need to know also which authority in every country. As you can see here, we have the Middle East and North Africa. You need to know also which authority that are relevant to your the registration of your product. Regulation, it's a regulation always. You have unlimited options, and we'll have the process accelerate. And local presence, as I mentioned, in case of you don't have local presence, we can be working on your behalf in the countries. These some consultant value offering. We have like product compliance, technical translation, label validation, formula validation, and registration of your products. Regulatory, we can research and analyze your. So if you want even to develop a new product comply in the with the regulation, we can help you on that. We have the expertise. The horizon scanning, as I mentioned here, you will be alerted. You will be aware about any new regulation here in the region. The early update and the early warning. We can work with you in case of there is any crisis. For example, like a shipment stopped maybe for a reason. If it is not food safety reason, we can see how to help. We have a lot of success stories where companies release the shipment based on maybe sometimes misinterpretation from the one who's making the clearance in the custom authority. For the special approval also, we have success stories. A lot of companies have very good experience with us. And for the claims, the problem solving, success stories for that. For quality consistency, we have certification. We can make like that, prepare the company to be halal certified or AQM certified. For example, ICAS certified. We prepare the documentation with you. We tell you which certificate should be ready for that until you get the certificate. We have expertise on that, investigation and auditing, and we can make auditing, training for quality and also for regulatory matters. This is some of the key players in our portfolio. I want to just mention a little. We have more than currently. Last year we had more than 100 companies. We work with them, multinationally, globally, and also local companies. Now, I don't know, Katarzyna, do you have like 3 to 4 minutes to present Raqam Consultancy?
Yes. Go
I
on.
have yeah.
We have reached time, but we
small.
just...
Yeah, thank you. Just I want to highlight this small video. Maybe I have to remove the share. Other new sharing.
We can't hear you.
Yeah. Just 1 second, please. I'm trying to.
Okay.
Now. Yeah. Okay, thank you. Just I want
yes.
Just maybe I want to share still.
Hi, and welcome to the Corporate Finance Institute.
What is this?
My name is Tim Vipon, and I'll be your instructor for Corporate Finance 101.
Okay, now we'll share the presentation. Just continue maybe for another 2 minutes. You hear me? Is okay?
Yeah, I can see. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, as we mentioned that we are covering all Middle East and North Africa. We have all these countries. Now we have for the regulatory affairs and quality assurance, as I mentioned, I will go through them very quickly. And we have the crisis management and problem solving for all this, what I mentioned about this, the regulatory and quality assurance. Yeah, this is just a brief about Raqam Consultancy. We have more than 6 years now in Dubai, working with more than 100 companies, and also more than 40+ years cumulative knowledge. We have more than 20 employees now, technical people working with us. And I'll go to the other one. This is our contact in case of you need any information. Of course, Katarzyna can be also like our contact in case of you need any support also. We are here to help. Thank you very much.
Wow, Dr. Hassan, thank you very much for your high professional presentation. Thank you very much. I think it's the core and a vital knowledge and very important for all companies to be aware of and to be up to date on the modifications that the importing countries are introducing, especially when it comes to food, which is very, all we know, sensitive. I am pleased you will stay with us till the end of the conference. However, I see a lot of questions addressed to you, but we are a little bit over our time. I will ask you 2 short questions from the audience and 1 for my side. Firstly, it's about the complying with European standards. The question is, if the food product complies with the European standards, is this product considered to comply with the UAE regulations? Can you answer this question, please? Can you hear me?
I hope that you hear. Yeah, I just had a problem in the internet here. Yeah. In case of the products comply with the EU, at least it's comply with the international regulation, but doesn't mean that it's comply with the regulation UAE, unfortunately. For that is local regulation here, local, and I'll give you an example of the additive standard, UAE additive standard. It's contained with the Codex and EU standard. When additives is already existing in the Codex with the limit, for example, and limit, which is not the same as in European standard, let's say less quantity you have to use, then you have to follow Codex, not European standard. This is a very it's a known issue now in the regulation. Of course, there is like warning statements, different sometimes ingredients are not allowed here. It doesn't mean that in case of a product comply with the European standard, it's ready to enter to UAE market. No, unfortunately.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Hassan. The second question concerns registering of the food products in the UAE. Is required?
Registration, it's mentioned also with Dr. Isam that Yeah, registration, it's because sometimes some person in the companies they use between registration of the brand itself or the brand of the company and also the registration of the product in the countries. Of course, this is totally different. The mark, the brand should be registered in the Ministry of Commerce or Trade. It depends the country, but registering of the product is in, for example, in Dubai municipality, in ESMA, in SFDA. The registration is obligatory, it's mandatory, and this should be done by a local trader, for example, or representative of the company, but should have like a trading license to have the access of the portal. Also, in case of any food trading company here or distributors, they have a trading license. They can have, they can register any product, food products. Of course, registering a food product, there is also a process. There is some documentation required. Sometimes the registration is rejected. Of course, it's not like automatic registration. There is some restriction.
Okay, okay. Dr. Hassan, thank you very much.
I can give you, yeah, please go.
Yeah, please go on.
No, I want just to, yeah, I want to just tell you an example. Now we have proudly registering now Carrefour Saudi, for example, or product of Carrefour Saudi or product Carrefour UAE. Now we are registering all their products. Last year we registered more than 2,000 items for Carrefour Saudi, for example, which is really, we are proud that all these products were registered. Of course, it was some difficulties, of course, for documentation and sometimes label that we tell the company that this is not allowed, and they change the label based on our expertise.
Mm-hmm. Okay, yes, Dr. Issam also mentioned this topic. From a meeting with him, I got the information that in terms of Polish products, they are now registered about more than 5,600, so about Polish products in the Dubai municipality system. Okay, just from my side, the very short question, how to make Polish companies aware of all, I would say, UAE and all GCC regulations, current and this which are under the development?
Yeah, if you remember, this was part of the presentation concerning the early warning. All Polish companies needs to know the regulation, the current one, and also for the drafted regulation, which is ongoing, under preparation. Unfortunately, what we saw, for example, in Gulf Food, we visited, as you know, Gulf Food, there is more than 5,000 companies worldwide attending. When visiting some companies, they mentioned, thank you very much. We are relying on our distributor in UAE, our distributor in GCC. Thank you very much for your services. We don't need now this service. And unfortunately, for the majority of distributors, they are not aware about technical, they are not expertise. Technically, they don't have the knowledge. Maybe they have they know about the current standard, maybe they have it, but not always the case. Maybe they rely on maybe a competitor product or since the product is entering. But when there is new regulation or a new decision or decree, maybe they are not aware. We heard several times from several companies that they have, for example, a rejected product in the border because a new claim it's not allowed anymore, or something that it's they have to put the warning statement. They have, and they reject the product, unfortunately. And as Dr. Issam mentioned, that sometimes they accept some product based on the cases. For catering, for example, if you have a product, you want to put it on the retail in all the retail, supermarket, etc. and the authority tell you, no, this should be going to the restaurant and I don't know where. It is not in your benefit to have such thing. You want your product to be on the shelves and the consumer see it and take it. And some company, they are not aware that this really costs them a lot by losing market share. You know, sometimes you build the brand, you build your you know, that the consumers like your product, and suddenly they don't find this product on the shelves. They try maybe a competitor product, maybe sometimes cheaper, or maybe even more expensive, but they like it more. Then really the market share is lost for the company. For sustainable, maybe a little bit of cost. They will cost them from the beginning, as with the feasibility study, the company they can make, where they can maybe have a little bit fees that can add it to the project from the beginning. They will save a lot of money. And also, of course, that will be sustainable in the market.
Dr. Hassan, thank you so much for sharing with us this comprehensive, it's absolutely vital information. Thank you. Thanks so much. I appreciate your commitment.
Thank you very much.
Hope
It's
to
my
see
pleasure.
you at Gulfoods, Dr. Hassan. I would like to thank our speakers very much for their inputs and highly energetic conference, giving our audience a lot of food of thought. Moreover, I hope our guests from the UAE could get a feeling that we in Poland understand food not only as a valuable export product, but also as an important part of our cultural identity. And because our unique culinary experience has been a part of Polish hospitality for centuries, I would like to invite you to visit our pavilion at Gulfood 2021, which will be organized by KOWR, the host of the conference today. I'm especially grateful to the organizer and to the entire team of the department, Magda, Anya, Monica, sorry if I don't mention all of you, for organizing the webinar and for the technical support. I would like also to thank our interpreter team for following our thoughts. I really appreciate your work. I know sometimes it's not so easy. I wish all of us a quick return to the normal life without masks and coronavirus. Thank you very much for your attention and all the best. Stay safe, stay healthy.